everybody, this is Adam Gussow coming back to you with number 4 in the series of 10 lessons on the wisdom of Nat Riddles, the lessons of Nat Riddles, the teachings of Nat Riddles. Number 4, and it's something I was trying to just exemplify in what I just did there. The way I played, by the way, I was playing on an F harp. Don't do this, I don't do this a lot, but the F harp, it was listening to Nat Riddles play the F harp on the street and listening to the power of repetition. But this is point number 4. Take your time. Disarticulate the timekeeping function of the harp from the tone producing function of the harp. Now, did Nat teach me that in so many words? No. No, he exemplified it. But what does that mean? What does that mean? Wait a minute. Let me read that again. Take your time. So the phrase "take your time" is something, interestingly enough, if you're a white boy of some sort, the first time you hear that, if you were a white boy when I was a white boy, first time I heard people use that term, it was older black men who would say, "take your time." And I don't think I fully understood what that meant, and it means more than one thing. So actually we can have a little disquisition on what that might mean. Take your time. Number 1, it means trust. It means find the groove and trust the groove. It means don't try to say everything that you've got to say all at once. Let it unfold. Give it a chance to come out. Trust us, trust the community of musicians, the audience, that we're here. We're going to give you a chance to say what you need to say. There was a huge stress on that in Harlem when I was playing, both in the jazz clubs and on the street. The idea that each person out there has something that they've been given to say, and that we need to find a way to help them get that out. Now, if it doesn't make any sense, well, let's listen to it. Maybe it makes more sense than we think. Maybe we need to rise to the occasion. Anyway, take your time. Disarticulate the timekeeping function of the harp from the tone-producing function of the harp. So what I want to do, somebody who hasn't learned this lesson, so this is something I learned from Nat, and I learned it on the first day, because he would play these slow blues, and he didn't have a jam track on, and his sense of time was rock solid. So take your time also means develop a sense of time. But what does it mean to disarticulate the timekeeping function of the harp from the tone-producing function of the harp? Here's somebody who hasn't learned that lesson. Somebody who just chugs, who doesn't know how to play a long tone with vibrato, ideally, but a long tone where time is chugging along underneath. In other words, what I did there was I used the harp to keep time. If I was doing a shuffle, you know, very early in my YouTube experience, I did something called the North Mississippi Front Porch Blues Harp Lesson. It's one of the most successful lessons I ever had. And it was the first lesson where I actually just played the way that Nat had showed me how to play, which is solo, leaving space. Now, here's the thing. If you leave space because you don't know what comes next, that doesn't count as leaving space in a musical way. If you leave space because you don't know where the next beat is, that's even worse. But if you leave space all the while allowing time to function underneath, and with me it means using your foot to tap, then you're doing it the right way. All right, so I have some notes on this page. Many players fall into a version of chugging. The harp can play long, beautiful notes with and without vibrato, and it can pause. In other words, take your time means spend at least a little of your practice time figuring out when not to play, but also, crucially, keeping that beat. So if I'm doing a slow blues and I want to take my time, this is what Nat would do. He would play a phrase that would go up to the 4 draw and then slide back down to the 2, a very familiar riff that I've talked about more than once on this channel. So da 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 bop. So I'm giving a little lead in. This is not a lesson to teach you the specifics of what I'm doing. It's to teach you the general principle that lies behind the specifics. Okay, I want to explain that. Two, three. Silence. Two, three. See, I'm keeping the beat with my foot. Got to know where that root of the 4 chord is. Have to know the blues progression. So what it's time for now is I want to play you a little bit of Nat. This is a recording that I made in New York City. I think this was at Astor Place, and I will upload a newer version of this at some point. It's a little flat, it's a little pitch, probably because it was made on a cassette deck, and it's called One Room Country Shack. And so I just want to play this. It's a little crispy, maybe you say. It's a little. It was recorded at a very high level, or it was dubbed at a very high level. Hear the guitar. So this is really an F harp, but it's a little flat from Let me pause for just a sec. So one thing I noticed right away is that he takes his time when he's singing. He leaves the space. Now, why doesn't everybody take their time? Why don't they leave space in a slow blues like this? Well, one reason is because they're afraid they're gonna, if they don't hang on to the beat with the help of the harp, they're gonna lose the beat. So what did I say again? I say take your time, disarticulate the timekeeping function of the harp from the tone-producing function of the harp, meaning don't become so dependent on the harp to keep time that you can't stop playing, and allow time to continue to flow on, and that 12-bar progression continue to flow on. Such an important lesson. And it's an easy lesson to miss because the harp just wants to be fast and loud and in your face. And there are people who think, if I'm not playing, then I'm not creating music, right? I mean, you got to play to impress. But that's not actually true. And that was the thing that impressed me about the way that Nat played slow blues. In my one room, little country cabin, little baby and I all alone. In my one room, a little cabin, Me and my little baby all alone. Now I don't do this song at all. Uh-oh, car's coming. Hopefully it's coming somewhere else. This is not a song that I sing. But do you get the point? I'm gonna move ahead. Yep, where are they going? I'm gonna move ahead to the solo. And so Charlie Hilbert is playing guitar alongside of him. I don't want to go on too long. Here we go. So the song is actually sped up a little. Okay, that's. Interesting. So even Nat and Charlie, I think of them as sort of heroic. Charlie became my guitar player for quite a while. But, you know, he pushed the beat. It actually sped up from the beginning. It's interesting. Didn't manage to hold it, lock it down. People do that. That's okay. That's okay. But again, part of what is required in the Nat Riddles, we're almost done with this. Part of what's required to play the Nat Riddles style is trusting the music, trusting the melody lines to do the work that they do. So let me just, I'm going to end with this. I don't want to overdo the lesson. But I'll say this much. If you're somebody who thinks who tends to overplay, then this would be very good to practice just doing a slow blues this way. And again, this is an F harp. Let me start with a different kind of phrase. Now that's what I like. Let's try to edit it. Little overblow. Edit. Leave space. Now, if you do that successfully, it gives you some place to build. So if I were really going to continue, like play a 3-chorus slow blues, then I'd want to get into the stuff where I'm really hitting it hard. And I've heard Sugar Blue do exactly that sort of thing. That's what you want to get into. Okay, so we're done. This was lesson number 4. I'm going to repeat it one more time. Take your time. Disarticulate, separate the time-keeping function of the harp from the tone-producing function of the harp. Take your time.